Welcome to episode 329 of the Grip Strip Podcast, the FallBrawl plus racing equals trailer parks edition of the Grip Strip Podcast. My name is Philip Matthew. I'm your host, the current owner of in the FallBrawl League of newly named franchise. Have to bring it up here. Sorry for the delay. My team is this internet. Oh man. See, I'm just messing with the bit here.
It's the Trailer Park Temptations.
Yeah. The owner of Trailer Park Temptations used to be Pocket Aces, but with the there he goes finally on about the third or fourth try. In ode to the owner of the San Francisco 49ers, who got nailed initially for prostitution in his home state of Ohio, Jed York. So Trailer Park Temptations. We'll talk about that later within our football side, but we'll talk about a bunch of things here. But as always, with me is my good buddy, the iRacing Indy 500 champion, the Firecracker 400 champion, computer genius, a gentleman and a scholar, and someone who probably that's definitely not in your wheelhouse. I think you'd be a little more covert about it. His name is Joshua Fine. What's going on, brother?
Doing good, man. Of course. Another week of racing here in NASCAR, F1, and IndyCar now. But of course, football is almost back. And of course, we had our draft last night and made our draft picks. I had my other draft also yesterday. So, I'll have to talk about that later. But of course, we'll be back at Daytona on Saturday night. There for the Coke Zero 400 here. So excited for that. Bringing some friends there for the first time. So excited to see how they'll be about that. And of course, we'll link up with our buddy Joe out there as well. So really looking forward to all of that. But of course, lots of things to get on tonight. So ready to get into it.
Yeah, it's going to be a busy show. We're going to talk about NASCAR Cup and trucks in New Hampshire. Trucks, of course, ending their regular season. Cup now with only one race to go in their regular season. Formula One raced at Zandvoort for likely the last time. Talk about the Dutch Grand Prix, the Maggot Grand Prix in Washington. Kyle Kirkwood for America goes out there. I spelled his name wrong, and there you go. And then Jeff Gordon went back out and brought it back in time and won 2 IROC races. As Josh mentioned, we drafted our FallBrawl League. Talk about NFL preseason week 2, some major injuries that have taken place. The fact that Manny, I think, rage quit the league last night during the draft. Getting a hit from my good friend and mentor, Professor J, during the aftermath of Jed York getting arrested, amongst others. And then another sexual predator, Deshaun Watson, going and getting named the Cleveland Browns starter for whatever that's worth. GSP Roundup will have IMSA GT at VIR, very competitive event there. Supercars Ipswich Super 440, 3 races there, the last round of their sprint championship. NHRA was at Brainerd and the Zoo. F1 Academy at Zandvoort. Then we'll preview Rally Paraguay for WRC, MotoGP, Moto2, and Aragon. Indy next at Milwaukee, which will lead into the Milwaukee doubleheader for IndyCar. 3 races to go there in their series and their season for 2026. Cup and O'Reilly at Daytona. I think O'Reilly still has a couple races to go in there. Might be
for their playoff
before their playoff. Yeah, they have. Oh no,
Daytona's the cutoff.
All right, so I thought it was off, so my bad. Cutoff for both Cup and O'Reilly. We bring back, of course, the world famous Tate Fogelman algorithm because it is a super speedway race. and we'll make our picks for winners and wild cards, but also who will make the cut in the Cup and O'Reilly series. It's more straightforward in the Cup series than it is in O'Reilly. Josh will let us know all things going on iRacing Gaming and Sim segment, and we'll call it a day. So yeah, let us start with the NASCAR Cup Series event at New Hampshire Motor Speedway. It was the Dollar Tree 301 at New Hampshire. They started the race in the wet, moved the race up an hour, no less, to try and get it started. I think they ended up parking them for a little bit, drying the track, then bringing them back out to start. First 30 laps of the race were, first 50 or so 55 laps of the race. The vast majority of that was, on lap 50, until lap 50 was either raced under the wet conditions prior to the competition yellow, because NASCAR, for some reason, insists on dictating when teams can put a wet tire on and then when teams can take a wet tire off, instead of every other racing series that has wet tires. Then there was one incident for Richard prior to the stage 1 conclusion. Then there's a multi-car wreck there caused by Carson Hocevar because he's a jackass. I mean, it's not like he's even funny like Johnny Knoxville. He's just a jackass, and he has the driving acumen of Tony Romo. Some of the dumb shit that he does, it's fascinating how the guy is like one of the more popular drivers in this sport, because he's a dimwit. I mean, it's unbelievable. I don't know how many wrecks he wrecked on before the race started. He spun out. Then he tried to wreck himself across the nose of Connor Zilisch. Then he went and spun out again after the start of stage 3. So, I mean, I don't know. He's going to make the chase, and so is Nacho Libre, but neither of them are doing anything of any value. But that's a separate discussion, I guess, here. And you had Byron there, led early, I thought, kind of had a chance, and then he had issues on pit road. Chris Bell also had issues. I mean, Blaney did too, but his pit crew sucks, so it's kind of expected. And the fact that Penske hasn't corrected it is amazing to me. It's not like they really have reinforcements, but theoretically, your team Penske, you could get reinforcements. Some of the other drivers here, I mean, looking at, Hocevar actually finished third in stage 1. So it makes no sense. I don't know. It really doesn't. It got late there. I mean, really, Blaney, of course, was up there for most of the day. Josh Berry, another great run for the Wood brothers and for him and his chase to get a ride. It won't be in the Cup Series, it looks like now, but to keep his career going, had another good run, but had issues late. Tire or pit call wasn't in their favor. Darrell Walsh Jr. tried to go and pass his bestie, and was not able to do so. Christopher Bell, I mentioned, did have pit road issues. Got in one of his tire changers, but was able to come back around later in the day. Reddick qualified on pole, didn't have pace. He spun out early, but was able to recover. Hamlin didn't score that many stage points, just kind of lurked throughout the day, so didn't gain that much ground, but has won the number 1 seed in the playoffs, so in the chase, so credit to him and the number 11 JGR team. They had an issue on pit road with a code word, which, I mean, amongst all the goofy things that come with this car now, with the pit calls and code words and stuff, it's almost like you're calling NFL plays and stuff. It's like somebody needs to call John Gruden. If you really want to make complicated play calls, just go and have a John Gruden come in and do a play call. Then you could really recognize how most of his quarterbacks failed miserably. But yeah, let us get in. I mean, in the end, it was Blaney. Was able to hold off Bubba even on 2 tires. Berry trying to catch him late, but the traffic made a difference. Chase Briscoe was up front late on the what I think was the final restart of the race at lap 230, whatever, around 240, and they ran the last 60 laps. He went from racing for the lead to a lap down in 26th, which is absolutely pathetic. Shane Van Gisbergen, who led early in the day, lost his handle once it got dry, finished 20th. I mentioned Byron, who had issues later in the day with keeping tire on the car, and so he'll lose a tire changer and a couple other pit crew members in the process. Finished 30th, 5 laps down. But yeah, the results: Ryan Blaney, Bubba Wallace, Josh Berry, Chris Bell, Larson, Keebler Gibbs, Hamlin, Reddick, Preece trying to make a run, Hail Mary into the playoff, into the chase. Noah Gagson, a top 10 finish actually on merit, which is something. Zane Smith was right there with him there for the front row guys. Brad Keselowski, Austin Cindric trying to maintain his spot in the chase. Mentioned Zane Smith. Logano didn't have a great run. Bowman, McDowell, Suarez 17th, Buescher 18th, Hocevar 19th, Buescher, all those three, Suarez, Buescher, Hocevar, locked themselves into the chase. Buescher was the last car in the lead lap. But yeah, I mean, this race was really a lot about Ryan Blaney having to battle back from the mistakes his pit crew makes on a regular basis, being a bad one. I remember they took Ryan Flores off his car a few years ago, and I don't think you could say causation or correlation, whatever, but I feel like a lot of the pit road issues that have taken place have happened post Flores being there, considering how good of a tire changer he is and a leader that he is. Of course, also being a wheelman in TQ Midgets as well. A really good podcaster, so he's multi-talented. But I guess the greater question is, yeah, sure, there was a good race for, the 23 and the 21, try to make it interesting, but really it was Blaney's race, maybe the 20 car, maybe the 24, depending on if things fell a certain way, might have had a chance, but Blaney's been running a lot better. He's been running as consistent as anybody throughout the season. Yes, you've had runs with Tyler Reddick where he was winning, seemed like every week. You had that run earlier in the summer where Hamlin couldn't really do anything wrong. But I think Blaney's that steady hand. And the way that some of these races fall in the chase, it may not be as bad for the Fords. It may not be as bad for Penske as it could have been, depending on the layout. Though there's a good share of 1.5 mile racetracks in there. But I mean, can we make the argument, Josh, that Blaney is in the mix? Is he in the conversation as a championship favorite? Given his recent run, but in general, he's been in the top 5 in points most of the year. It's not by accident, even when they haven't been fast or they've been the best Ford. And I mean, he's so versatile. There's no road courses. I mean, he's not bad on road courses, but he's so versatile that him and Jonathan Hassler always figure out a way. So even if they don't have the best of it, they're going to grind out a top 10 run. They're going to get stage points. It's almost like they pivot to the B strategy where they're like, okay, we may not win this race, but we're going to get stage points. So we, back ourselves up no matter what our strat is. I mean, can we say that Blaney's a favorite? Do you have similar concerns, in regards to what he's going to be able to do come Darlington?
No, there's no concern really on my part about what Ryan Blaney can do. I think, is he on the same level of speed as the 11 or maybe even the 45 on a good day? Maybe not, but especially on a 1.5 miles. But he's been as good as anybody, and I think that's why it's going to be hard to count him out here in the chase, especially the way that this season has gone. We thought for a while it would be it'd be Tyler Reddick there, but now that it's happened and everything, now that we've gotten here to one race left, I mean, it's hard to not include Blaney in this conversation here for who could be the champion here at the end of the season. Looking at the racetracks that are in the chase, Darlington, Gateway. Gateway's the only one I think that's still a good flat track for Penske to do well at. There. So Bristol, of course, Kansas, Las Vegas, Charlotte, Phoenix, Talladega, Martinsville, and Homestead. Honestly, those are all tracks that Ryan Blaney's good at. Darlington, they finished third. They've been good at there in the past. Gateway, of course. Penske's won there before with Logano, so there's that opportunity there. Bristol, they finished second. They had a really fast car there. Finished second to Ty Gibbs there back in the spring. Kansas, Kansas is the only one really where they were off. They were 24th there. Las Vegas, 16th there, so they started 6th. Charlotte, they finished 7th. Rain shortened Coke 600. Phoenix, they won back in the spring. We know Ryan Blaney's good at Talladega. He's won there in the past. Good at super speedway racing. Of course, has won at Martinsville 2023. Homestead has run up front there before in the past, the last couple of years. So it's definitely possible for Ryan Blaney here. Obviously not enough to catch Denny Hamlin for the regular season here before the chase starts, but we'll see how the chase, now that they get the reset, he'll have an opportunity to get to Denny Hamlin there if they can drive consistently and race or have consistently good results throughout the chase. So you're just gonna have to. It's really just gonna come down to who's the most consistent and who can win the most out of Denny Hamlin, Tyler Reddick, and Ryan Blaney there. So I think those are your three favorites there for the title. And think that's pretty obvious at this point of the season. You can maybe throw in Ty Gibbs there as a substitute or as a fourth option. I think that's also a viable path, but we'll see what happens here going forward here in the chase. This race was pretty interesting here. You started out in the rain tires here in the Cup Series. Of course, there's still the issue of letting the teams pit by their own choosing here, rather than having the competition caution for the teams there. Say it's the safety and everything, but look at every other series. They're able to go out and actually do pit stops in the wet and everything. So I don't know what's preventing NASCAR from doing that. And I feel like they've had that choice in the past, like at road courses. So I don't know what makes it different from an oval versus a road course. So if we have another rain race on an oval, you should take that into consideration there. But it did lead some interesting racing, of course. SVG led there, and I think it probably would have been a bigger factor there for SVG if they could have raced with or chose when they could pit for tires there instead of the caution there. That would have helped him, I think. But guys like Bubba Wallace, of course, had a good day, was catching Ryan Blaney there at the end, locked up the brakes into turn 3 with about 4 or 5 laps to go, and that basically was his opportunity there, and not wasted, but lost that opportunity there, because then after that I had to gather it back up, and then he said he developed a vibration there in the left front there the last couple of laps that prevented him from closing the gap there again to Ryan Blaney. So for Bubba, had some issues here throughout the year, finally another good result. They've been kind of off and on throughout the year. So good momentum, I guess, to get into the chase there. And they, of course, clinch in this race. So that's another positive thing here. So, that's definitely good for them. Josh Berry, of course, I think real big surprise there for this race. They've been running really good the last handful of races. Of course, Josh Berry out next year, swapping him out for Jesse Love from RCR in the O'Reilly series. Josh Berry definitely raced like he had something to prove there on Sunday with some of the moves that he was making. Definitely was like, what the heck with some of those moves, but he was trying to make it work, trying to race for the win. Trying to race for a job next year. So definitely a lot of urgency there for Josh Berry to try to get a win there, and maybe he had the best car there at the end, but it was too far back and didn't have enough time to really get there. So, definitely the result they needed, but of course, for Josh Berry, trying to audition for something next year, whether that's in Cup or that's in the O'Reilly Series, that remains to be determined. Chris Bell, another solid result for Chris Bell, another top 5. So you're ready for the chase there. Kyle Larson, top 5. So getting a little bit back to form for Kyle Larson there, won the first stage there. Now they clinched as well for the chase after winning at Knoxville. And now they go to Super Speedway here, and I guess see if whatever they're capable of doing in the playoffs or in the chase there. So we'll see. Ryan Preece also had a good run there late, kept himself alive in the battle for the final spot for the chase. Noah Gragson, of course, like you said, random top 10 there, but I guess it's coming off the news that he got a 1-year contract extension from Front Row, so guess backed up the result there. Which is interesting though about that, I guess, here for this part of the results list, a lot of Fords, and really a lot of Fords in the top 15. So again, kind of the flat track for the Fords kind of working out for them again. So Fords seem to do good more on the flat tracks more than the Toyotas or the Chevys, but they've been able to put up good results on those type of tracks there. So I think the other interesting things that happened, of course, Carson Host far before the race kind of spun out in the wet, then had that crazy spin out there in the middle of the race, kind of cleared himself off of Connor Zilisch there, and kind of made dramatic there on the front stretch. Of course, Zilisch later got into an accident with Riley Herbst, locking up the brakes, trying to avoid him there. Chase Briscoe had a bad race. Of course, was battling with Ryan Blaney there at the beginning of that final run to the checker flag, and then just looked like he progressively got worse throughout that final run, and then ended up falling a lap down to Ryan Blaney there. So, definitely a really off result for Chase Briscoe. A week after they were on the cups of potentially winning a race there at Richmond, and to come back to New Hampshire the next week and just look completely off there on that final run. Pretty interesting. They had a really good run, the last handful of races going back to Chicago and Sonoma, take out Atlanta where they crashed. They had finished in top 10 since Sonoma until this race, so that kind of breaks the streak that they had going into this race of top 10 finishes outside of Atlanta. So kind of a head scratcher there, I guess. Maybe you might have some more insight there, but definitely for Briscoe, compared to where all the Toyotas finished in the JGR camp, definitely confusing there or puzzling there for him. But for Blaney and all the other guys in the playoffs or the chase, it's definitely going to be interesting here. Definitely that top 3 or 4 I think are for sure favorites for the championship here. It's just going to be a matter of who gets hot here over the course of the final 10. And I think anybody else from 5th to 7th, I think they're really going to have to have a complete turnaround. So, Chris Bell's been finishing the top 5, top 10, over the summer. So they just need to be able to win races. Kyle Larson, of course, has been, hot and cold throughout the year and hasn't won yet. So they're really going to have to show something that they haven't shown, which is, total speed throughout a race, to have, race closing speed, to win a race there. And, I guess, Chase Briscoe's there in the top 5 as well, so he's going to have to be a little bit more consistent over the final 10. So, it's going to be interesting here. Now we go to Daytona. I think all that's left to determine is that final spot. There, Bubba Wallace, of course, hasn't quite clinched, but he just needs 2 points to clinch. So, you just have to get through to the first stage, really, and just get stage points, and he's locked in there. And then SVG, I think he's been good on super speedways lately. I think SVG likely will clinch here, Austin Cindric as well. So I don't think anybody's going to change here in the field. We're not going to have any surprise knock-ins like we've seen the last couple of years at Daytona with the random winner for the final spot there in the chase playoffs. So definitely a different change from past couple of years. But it's going to be interesting here, the Daytona coming up. But I guess with New Hampshire, of course, the rain kind of made it interesting. Tire and horsepower package, of course, made it a little bit more interesting than what we've seen in the past from New Hampshire. So overall, I thought it was a fairly interesting race, and definitely a compelling finish. From the standpoint of Blaney navigating through traffic and Bubba Wallace trying to catch him there at the end.
Yeah, both having to go and work hard for it. Going to different and working out in different ways for both drivers. I think Blaney showing why he has become one of the best, and I call him the most popular driver. When he got out of the car, the whole place cheered, even though he whooped everybody's ass. 2 years in a row winning in New Hampshire. It's a tough racetrack too. Beating his bestie there, getting his 20th career win in the process, third of the year. So solidifying himself minus, kind of like a bottom falling out of probably getting second in the regular season there. So that would be huge for the reset for him. Gibbs is 20 points out of Reddick. So that's a mini battle to look at. Of course, Reddick coming off of the 500 win in February there. And 2 super speedway wins so far this year for him. Bell and Briscoe separated by 11 points. I mean, the only thing I can come up with that was his car was basically somewhere between 8th and 12th all day. Small goes and makes the 2-tire call there, the last pit stop. And then the car fell off a cliff during that run after the initial attempts to try and make a pass on Blaney. But my thing is, once it got away from him, the fact they didn't pit him and just go and because you're not going to lose more ground, you're only going to lose 5 more points. You need to figure out certain tracks for Chase to go and do better at. Richmond was the first time in his career last week where he actually ran well at Richmond. New Hampshire, he says, is outside of 1 second place finish, which was due in part because of rain, has been dog crap at a track where that organization, that particular team, has run well over the years. It doesn't correlate. It doesn't make sense to me. He's the only one in the top 9 that hasn't even won a stage this year either. Reddick only has 1 stage win. That's crazy. So I mean it's pretty weak, and then New Hampshire is going to be in the chase next year too, which is a concern. Larson coming off the Nationals win, getting through there. Elliott, Logano not having a great day, but in the top 10 right now, in a battle with Buescher and Hocevar, who's went in the tank. Other than being a dipshit. I don't know, 3 or 4 races ago, he was 5th in points, and in the span of, 3 weeks, he's gone from 5th to 11th. And if he has another bad run, he could fall all the way back to 14th, maybe more. So it's kind of crazy to think the collapse that has taken place. Suarez, it hasn't been some sort of mass, immediate collapse. It's just been a slow burn to mediocrity. Spire, whatever advantages that they've had on certain types of racetracks has kind of gone away. And it's a concern considering we're going into the chase. Josh mentioned it. Bubba basically has to run out the first stage. Hope a couple other people kind of fall out anyway, and then he'll make it in. Cindric and SVG need to do a little bit of work to make sure that they get in. Priest is the only one that could mess with it, but he would have to go and honestly be up front all day and win. Chastain had an engine problem or whatever and got himself eliminated. It's amazing to me that a guy that 4 years ago was 2nd in points and did the Hail Melon, then won the season finale the following year after missing I think he missed the chase that year too, or he got knocked out in whatever round. Yeah, he was in the chase, but he didn't, or in the playoff, but he got knocked out prior to the final round. And beat Blaney. Blaney won that championship. And in the span of the last couple of years, what's happened at Trackhouse, and then you consider, of course, Zilisch going and deciding to book and go to Hendrick, which, I mean, is not surprising. Everybody and their mother knew it was going to happen. But for Trackhouse Racing to have SVG kind of like holding on for dear life to try and be the one representation there for that organization, your rookie driver, who in a little more than a year is going to be gone. And then your franchise guy, the guy that you built this place around, is going to end up finishing 20th in points is pretty weak, I'd have to say, for that organization. I mean, Roush has to be disappointed too, to be fair, that they've been beat by Spire, and, you know, Bubba hasn't run. I mean, I'm a fan of Bubba, but he's underperformed. He's kind of been saved by the fact that Riley Herbst for most of the years underperformed too, which is the reason why he's getting replaced by Corey Heim. And then, yeah, Cindric, you know, whatever. It's the Penske team. We saw, like, Blaney's been up there most of the year. Logano needed this run in the summer to get up there. Cindric's just kind of been around. Kind of makes it, you know, makes me really think that, you know, it should be 12. I think 12 was the right amount for the chase. It would be a little more intriguing. Honestly, yeah, it would probably eliminate everybody up to Cindric, but I think it would be a little bit more, there'd be a little more juice in this and it would make Carson Hocevar's collapse look it'd be funnier for him to choke himself out of the playoffs. But he's been saved because they allow 16 in. The truck series is a little more straightforward. They've announced that Bowman Gray Stadium will be hosting the first points paying event at the track since 1971 with the truck series, this week. So, Frankie Muniz gave up the 33. This he introduced racing. It's full time right now. Oh, okay. I didn't know that. So credit to Frankie Muniz for moves. Oh, so then they also moved Dawson Sutton back in the 26. So full timers, the Tony Breidinger qualifies Sutton who didn't turn a lap in qualifying. Oh, okay. That's interesting too. All right. The truck race definitely really wasn't interesting. I didn't watch. I only heard some of the race because I was out most of the day. Saw and heard late what was going on. Saw Gavin Boschel get junked late in the race. Landon Lewis got junked by John Hunter Nemechek because of course he would. I mean, geez, if he didn't bring money, he wouldn't have a fucking career either. Connor Mozak had issues. Those were all, like, I think late in the race there. Mozak and Baldwin. Landon Lewis got junked earlier in the day and was able to get a bunch of laps back, I think. Or no, he didn't. But this one was really about Layne Riggs going out there, getting another win, his 6th win of the season. Locks up the number 1 seed. His teammate Chandler Smith right behind him. So the front row Motorsports leading 116 of the race's 189 laps, since they went 14 laps past scheduled distance. Caden Honeycutt finishes 3rd. Stuart Friesen tried everything he could to get back into the playoff, into the chase, but missed out. Zilisch ended up winning both stages, leading the 2nd most laps, driving for Spire, but finished 5th. Tristan McKee, his teammate, was 6th, so he's the 2nd start in his truck career, or 3rd, or whatever the hell it is, and he's already in the top 10. Chris Bell was 7th. I think he got used up there on one of those late restarts. Daniel Hemrick was 8th. Justin Haley for the Ram colleague team was 9th, and Parker Eatman rounding out your top 10. Majeski 11. Michael Christopher Jr. driving another Halmar truck was 12th. Enfinger, Garcia, another one who was trying to make the chase, finished 14th. Tyler Ankrum in the end finished 16th, and that was enough. Gio Ruggiero scored a few stage points to salvage his day. He ended up 26th. Mozak there got a couple of stage points, and then Gavin Boschel. But Layne Riggs goes out there, does what he needs to do, continues to show why it's either going to be him or Caden Honeycutt. I have a hard time believing anybody else really is a factor, even with the point situation, with the ability to score stage points. Those two guys have been the two best trucks all year. Chandler Smith he'll start third in the chase, 35 points back. 25-point gap between first and second, then 10 points between second and third. And then from third on back is 5-point increments each driver. So Chandler Smith, Christian Eckes, Gio Ruggiero, Ty Majeski, Grant Enfinger, Daniel Hemrick, Ben Rhodes, Tyler Ankrum. For the so 2 front row trucks, 2 from Tricon, and then 3 from McAnally, and 2 from Thor Sport, and then the CR7 truck being the lone outside representative outside of what is essentially the big 4 in the truck series. So credit to Enfinger on that. But I don't really not really sure where else to go with that. Didn't really see it, but Layne Riggs, someone who's, I think, underemployed. But we can make that case for a few people in regards to the racing. But I think Layne Riggs is underemployed and probably should be in a Cup car next year. But instead, he might go out there and win a Truck Series championship and have a chance to defend it.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. I mean, probably should be in the trucks or the Cup Series. Instead of Noah Gragson, maybe Layne Riggs should be in the 4 car, or one of the other 2 cars in the FRM stable there. But no, I mean, he's, showing, he's definitely championship material. I mean, last year, wasn't able to, obviously Corey Heim completely dominated the truck series on his way to the championship there. And there was, times where maybe we thought Layne Riggs would be a contender, 2024, when he was in the truck series, maybe we thought he would have an opportunity there. But slowly come on until now. Now he's kind of taking that next step as dominating in the truck series. So, I think for Layne Riggs, it's definitely the favorite to win the title. I mean, you can say maybe the top 3, top 4, like we talked about in the Cup Series, have a possible chance. But, I mean, it's really hard to say even, outside of Caden Honeycutt. Like, I have not really seen anything from any of the other teams or drivers. I mean, Chandler Smith has won 2 races and has 1 more top 10 than Layne Riggs. But, I just, the fact that he hasn't run up front as much is not convincing enough to me that he can go up and beat his teammate. Christian Eckes hasn't won a race, so far this year, has 6 top 5s, 11 top 10s, but again, he just hasn't shown the pace there really. So everything is probably just going to come down to either Caden Honeycutt or Layne Riggs, and just haven't seen enough from Caden Honeycutt to really convince me that he can win the championship here. So I think it should just be Layne Riggs like all the way to the end here. And I think if you look at the Truck Series schedule here, if we can pull that up here, I mean, Bristol, Kansas, Charlotte, Phoenix, Talladega, Martinsville, Homestead. I think most of those tracks, I think Layne Riggs has a really good shot. I mean, I think maybe Kansas or Talladega, maybe for Layne Riggs, possible that maybe he doesn't win there. But other than that, I think all the other tracks is definitely a contender at, or could potentially win at. So that's what I think for Layne Riggs here going forward here. So I think out of all the championships, I think this one probably might be the easiest to determine here, but it is also the Truck Series and we've seen crazier things happen, so it's gonna be interesting to see for sure. But definitely Layne Riggs dominating right now and showing that he's definitely deserving of a spot up in the Cup Series.
If Ford actually cared about running an O'Reilly car, that would be a novel concept. They got multiple drivers I think they could have in a Ford that put a couple Mustangs out there and actually, diversify that series. It would be good. But yeah, I mean, it's really like you said, and what this year has been. Sure, you can't discount former champions like Majeski and Ben Rhodes and whatever, but ThorSport has not had pace in years. McAnally team has pace at times, but not winning pace. They're not the same as they have been in recent years. Hemrick hasn't really looked the same this year. They had a slow start, though. Ankram's Ankram, you know that what he is. You know what you're going to get. Eckes is the only one, and he's fourth, and as you mentioned, hasn't won a race, and it's like, not really sure there. I feel like Honeycutt is, like one good, set of runs away from really, going kind of nuts. And it's definitely possible. They've only won 2 races this year, but that's a team that is a prolific winning team over the years. So he's a winner. Both of these are late model standouts. Basically bringing up the Cars Tour and the Truck Series, essentially what we got right over there with those 2 guys. But we will see what happens when they go to Bristol in a few weeks' time. So they'll be off until then. I mentioned in terms of the chase that of the drivers, some of the drivers that missed out of the is Friesen, Garcia, Butterbean Queen, we'll go back there. Butterbean Queen was the best representative of the Dodge program. He ended up being 51 points out, which, considering where they were in their performance across the entire 18 races, I mean, to basically be 3 points a race, 3 positions a race behind Tyler Ankrum, and then 40 points behind Garcia there. That's you talk about that. That's only about 2 positions a race, so it's like a little bit here, a little bit there. So it's interesting what could happen, or it could have happened there, with a little more pace, a little more performance in those trucks this year. But we'll see what happens. And I think in the Owners' Championship, I have to go back. It'll be the reset owners points. See the 34, 11, 38, the 7 for Spire makes it. The 1 for Tricon makes it. So that's because that's not the 7. Yeah, so the 1 for Tricon. So I would assume Corey Heim. I don't know what the rules are, but I think Corey Heim's going to be in that thing a lot the rest of the year. The 62 for the Halmar Friesen team was in the mix to try and possibly make it in there. So that's interesting. The 77 for Spires. So there is a chance we could have split owner and drivers champions. The 88 for ThorSport with Ty Majeski was the last truck to make it in the innings there. Finished the 88 was 4 points, finished 4 points ahead of the 62. So interesting. Didn't know that battle was going on. But that would have made another non-drivers championship truck in there. That would be 1, 2, 3. That would have been 4 in the owners championship. But it's something we'll look at more next in a few weeks' time. There. So let's move on to the Formula One. Dutch Grand Prix took place. Zandvoort last time for them there for a while, likely, maybe ever, with the way that Formula One's trying to grow and where they're trying to grow towards. The conditions, there was issues, there was all kinds of stuff going on. But in the end, Lando Norris has now won 2 races in a row. It's his, he gets himself in there. I mean, it struggled to start the year for the McLarens, but it looks like Lando's kind of taken a big step forward. Goes and wins the Dutch Grand Prix by 11.5 seconds over Kimi Antonelli. George Russell had to hold off the Ferraris of Lewis Hamilton and Charles Leclerc to finish third. For the Hamilton, Leclerc fourth and fifth. Piastri early in the race looked like he had something and then fell off a cliff, finished sixth. Liam Lawson filling in for Isaac Hadjar, who had a wrist injury, finished seventh in the main Red Bull team. Nico Hulkenberg had to avoid Gabriel Bortoleto, his teammate, coming out of Lyondike corner. Somehow does that, goes on and finishes eighth. Fred Alonso ninth. And Pierre Gasly 10th. Of course, everybody after Lawson was a lap down. And then from Colapinto in 14th on were 2 laps down. Max Verstappen crashed coming out or going in the Lyondike corner on the wet track because there had been a rainstorm prior to the start of the race. They were on, I think, inters, and couple of both Verstappen and Bortoleto got a little too low in that corner. I guess the water made a loss of traction amongst whatever other things that might have been going on. For Verstappen, he went and had a tank slapper and hit the safer barrier coming up off of that final corner, the Lyondike corner. Bortoleto just did a 360, saved it, but then had issues later on. There was, issues within the race for some of these guys. I mean, the Haas team, both cars didn't even finish. Albon and Sainz crashed into Albon randomly. Colapinto got a 10-second penalty. Had a pretty brutal day. The Racing Bulls were just outside the points. They didn't really have the outright pace. They could have probably snuck a couple of points with a little better pace. Yuki Tsunoda subbed for Liam Lawson in the Racing Bulls. Finished 11th there. The Ferraris messed up with their strategy, trying to move drivers around. Probably played a part in why Lewis wasn't able to finish third. He's the one that is battling for a World Drivers' Championship, albeit it's a very faint hope at this point, but it was a bad job by them. Lewis definitely expressing his frustration throughout the race. Russell played the team game for Antonelli. In the process, lost 3 points to him, but it was the logical thing to do. Piastri, I don't know what they do, is tires or what happened with all the pit strategy, but it just didn't work out for him, and then he just fell back. The tire offsets were huge in terms of later in the race and trying to go and get themselves in a position to have a greater offset, to have greater whatever tire grip versus a driver who may not have as much. But, of course, with Zandvoort, the place being so narrow, it's basically impossible to pass outside of, turn one. There were people going through the S's, making some dive bonsai moves. But in the end, Lando Norris, I mean, we don't know how viable his championship, trying to defend his championship. Max Verstappen made up over 100 last year, so I guess anything is possible in Formula One, right?
Yeah, I guess anything's possible here. So, it's still going to be, I think, Kimi Antonelli at the end. Here, I think he's just shown too much here to win the championship. But yeah, for Lando Norris, at least gets a win here. So there's that. But for Kimi Antonelli, he's still the point leader and everything. George Russell, of course, there in third, but I think that was just for kind of benefiting off of Lewis Hamilton's strategy or failing there for Ferrari there, kind of had an opportunity to pass Charles Leclerc and didn't have the order to do so, and then had an opportunity there, but they wasted the opportunity there, and of course Lewis had the frustration there at the end, but for Antonelli didn't have the same pace as Lando Norris there, and he got back in the lead and then took off the rest of the way and was able to win the Grand Prix there. So, shouldn't be surprised there. But I guess the only real surprising thing there is with Verstappen, with how he wrecked out there on the first lap there, and I guess I didn't know it was called line corner there, but it makes sense there with that. But for Max, of course, kind of a bummer for Max. He announced that he is going back to Red Bull till 2030 there, and then first race after that announcement ends up crashing out there, wrecking out of the race there. So probably not how he wanted to finish it, the final Dutch Grand Prix for now, at least there. So, for Verstappen, they're a little disappointing, I guess. But, at least Mercedes didn't win this week. That's all, I guess, what I can say overall about that. Lando Norris winning, but doesn't really do anything affect the whole championship there. And as long as both Mercedes cars continue to finish podium or top 5, I think it's championship's pretty much decided here. And Antonelli, we keep thinking that maybe he might slip up here, but hasn't had a real slip up here. Of course, did have a chance to win, but at the end of the day, still finished on podium there. So. It's literally the order of the championship, from second to fourth with Antonelli, Russell, and Hamilton there. So, as we continue on for Formula One and move on to, I guess, Monza here in a handful of weeks here. So, it should be interesting. And I guess we're going to see, with Monza, with how speed is for some of these cars, with I guess Red Bull's supposed to have a good engine. Mercedes, of course, has a really advantageous engine there. So we'll see who's really good on pace there, and maybe it might cause some shakeup, but maybe not. So we'll see.
Yeah, we'll see with the new aero, with the light. What do you call the low downforce packages that they'll probably bring for Monza, which are one-offs, if that makes a difference. I don't know if that's Ferrari has already talked about that they might have a long weekend. At least Leclerc did post race. I was the boss wheat in 2001. So they changed the last turn to the Lion Dyke corner in 2001, but then they've of course obviously reconfigured it when they returned to F1 racing again. But the last corner has been the Lion Dyke corner for a while. Didn't know it was that long. They made a big deal about it once they made it a bank corner. And you think about it, bank corner, high on the limit, on the edge, Harry Lunatic, 2-time Indianapolis 500 winner, great
oval racer.
Oval, Denmark, all that stuff. So great racer. So they have names for all the corners, or most of the corners. Mostersbach is the S's, okay. Schlievak, Schlottmachbach, Hunsrug. Hugenholz is that lead into the first or the second banked corner. So guess we'll find out what that's all about in GTs. But Russell and Hamilton tied for second right now in points. Lando 24 points back. Leclerc is 28 points back. So there's still a battle for second in the Drivers' Championship. As Josh mentioned, I think Kimi Antonelli the bottom would have to fall out on him. But we saw it last year with Oscar Piastri. It went that way, so it's not impossible. Going to the freaking circus sideshow that was an IndyCar race in Washington. Kirkwood dominated that. It wasn't really much of a race. I think there were moments. You had Orange not knowing which end of a flag to hold to go and wave it. Him arguing with Melania amongst other things, before a diaper change. Him and his group of cronies were driving around in the whatever limo, fortified limo around the track. Then you had a bunch of these other people walking around talking, saying nonsense, acting like, oh, well, let's bring this race back. I'm like, they're not bringing this race back. It's a one-time thing. For what the cost was, you needed to have somebody like Penske who was willing to go and eat the cost to go and write it off as a tax write-off for it to happen. So it is what it is. One thing that was also a write-off was the fact that Kyle Kirkwood has a habit of winning street course races. Doesn't really matter where they are, first time, multiple times it existed. There were 4 leaders in this race. Green Hall actually led 12 laps. He was the last car in the lead lap. But in the end, a race that probably needed to be about 50 laps less, for the sake of everybody, could have just saved ourselves a lot of trouble. Kyle Kirkwood going out there and winning, leading all but 19 laps, under 28 of the races, 147. Beats Christian Lundgaard by just under 4 seconds. Will Power finishes 3rd. Marcus Ericsson 4th after starting 21st. So credit to him. The Andretti cars, 3 of the top 4. Kiffin Simpson holding up the fort for Ganassi from 23rd, finishes 5th. Gilbert Gottfried finishes 6th. Dixon actually finishes in the top 10. 7th, Newgarden 8th. Kyle Collette, who looks like he's not going to have a ride next year, is 9th. And Romain Grosjean was 10th. So good momentum for him last couple of races. Same for Ericsson coming off his win at Markham and Power as well. Kirkwood recovering from his rare mistake at Markham. Rasmussen caused an incident that took out Rinus VK. That was on the next caution. That was after David Malukas Stingray Robb had a crash earlier in that race. Scott McLaughlin tried to shoot the moon in turn 1 and crashed himself out of what was probably going to be a podium. Root Beer Floathead had multiple issues with his car throughout the weekend and even in the race itself. But the one shocker of them all, I think, was Alex Palou. Starts on pole, you'd think would be likely to go out there, get another, dominant win and lock up the championship there in DC in front of Orange Aid and all this other stuff. But rare mistakes, not a clean run, and has opened the door. I mean, granted, I don't buy that. Unlike the Formula One World Championship, where I think there's a lot more room to go and there's a lot more competitive cars, there is plenty of competitive cars in IndyCar, and I know that ovals aren't Palou's strong suit, but he's won an oval already this year. He did get wrecked at Phoenix early, so there is that notion that if it happens twice this weekend at Milwaukee, we could have a semblance of a points chance. But you're asking Kyle Kirkwood to basically make 30 points a race for every race for the rest of the year. Right today or yesterday, he got maximum points, so 53, leading the most laps, getting because it's 50 plus he had the fastest lap and then led the most laps. So yeah, that was the 53 points. So that's an absolute maximum points haul. And then you had Palou, who had 11. So he outscored him by 42. Essentially would need similar kind of productivity. Currently 91 points back. He would have to cut essentially 30 points a race for the last 3 races to make one of the greatest comebacks in IndyCar history. I respect Kyle Kirkwood. I think he's very talented. Andretti has done a decent job this year, especially with him. They've become much better, seem to be a lot better here as the season ends. But I think Palou goes out there and gets it done next week. But this weekend was really all about Kyle Kirkwood, America's 250 and DC, running around a bunch of them famous buildings and monuments. But it was Kyle Kirkwood looking like the all-star that he has been for so long.
Yeah, and Kyle Kirkwood, of course, American and also Florida citizen. They're winning the Freedom 250 Grand Prix there. So, first lap, turn on the TV and gets the start. I mean, didn't start on pole, but as soon as the race got going there, he was able to kind of take advantage there and get to the lead like immediately. And it's basically his race to control from there on out. And there was some opportunities there with Graham Rahal, Scott McLaughlin had a chance on a restart, of course, and cooked it into the first corner and hit the tires there and took himself out. But this is basically a Kirkwood race. It really played out to his strengths there. We know he's good in street course races, but then also, go to his experience running GTD for Vassar Sullivan in IMSA WeatherTech. And this race was just about the same amount of time as a standard sprint race for endurance racing there. So, this was, kind of into his wheelhouse there in terms of what he's really good at here. So, just a master class by Kyle Kirkwood. And of course, Alex Palou made basically an entire year's worth of mistakes, for him in one race. So, it's funny, consistently good throughout the entire season, but, the genius move of making all the mistakes that you'd normally make in 1 year in one race and crack the door open a little bit for the championship there. So, it's going to be interesting, I guess, for Palou next weekend at Milwaukee. And I mean, he's not good at oval racing, and so shouldn't say never, but it's going to be really tough, I think, for anybody else to really have a shot. It's going to take you go back to a couple of years ago, the door was knocked open a little bit because he had a power unit failure with the hybrid when they switched to the hybrid, and that kind of opened the door for, I think it was Pato O'Ward back then, but in 2024. So I don't know. I don't want to be one of those guys, but maybe something happens to Palou again this weekend that maybe has something similar. What happened at Phoenix happens here at Milwaukee, one of the races, or something like that. So that's why I have to run the race and see how things play out there. So I think for Palou, I mean, I don't think anything will happen. I think just execute smoothly and potentially win the championship here potentially this weekend as soon as that, but we'll see. But for the rest of the field, I mean, I talked about Marcus Ericsson, of course, last week won at Markham here, finished fourth here. So for Andretti Global, 3 of the first 4 there with McLaren, Christian Lundgaard in second there. So pretty successful weekend, kind of similar to what they were going to have last weekend, but happened here at Washington D.C. So for Andretti, really good weekend. Will Power finishing third, showing still has it. He's been running pretty well the last couple of races. Podium this weekend, and finished third in Toronto. Finished in third at he finished third at Portland. So 3 consecutive third place finishes for Will Power. So not quite the season that Will Power has wanted, with a lot of issues that he's had throughout the season, but starting to get better now towards the end. So potentially momentum for Will Power going into next year, possibly there. But I mean, it was your typical, street course race for IndyCar. I feel like, lots of action. I think it was just drawn out by the fact that this was a, longer race than normal for a street course and everything. And, we had debris cautions, first couple cautions, and, the big accident between David Malukas and then Stingray Robb got caught up into it. Then the restart after that, Renus VK and Christian Rasmussen getting into it. And Alex Palou caution later, and then Scott McLaughlin restart off that. Scott McLaughlin and Rosenquist get into it in turn one. So that was a pretty interesting race there for sure. With the small course, I mean, probably didn't really provide for a lot of overtaking really, but it's, I guess, definitely brought a lot of people there. I mean, for what it's worth, I mean, I read at least online Reddit community for IndyCar. It seemed like there's, they didn't dislike the event at least, and they said, for what they were able to do was pretty good. And certainly, if they decide to do it again, there's, I guess, things that they can improve on there, but especially for general admission there. But I think Douglas Bowles says this is only a one-time deal, but then you have people like the mayor of Washington D.C. being open to having another event next year there and everything. So I guess we'll see what they decide to do for this. I mean, I think it should just be a one-time event, but I guess it's good for people to get the eyeballs onto sport of IndyCar, kind of taking a backseat other than the Indianapolis 500 to NASCAR mostly in here in America, but for a lot of people who have never heard of IndyCar, now this is, other than the Indy 500, this is your chance to see it, and they got to see a big event with all the pomp and circumstance of everything. So definitely a lot of attention here on it. So hopefully gives the sport momentum to continue to grow here. So there's that. So we'll see, I guess, next year if they decide to do it again or whatever. But for now, just focus on the final oval race here for the year at Milwaukee, or the doubleheader here this weekend.
Yeah, and that's going to be huge to see. Last oval of the season. Rasmussen is coming off of winning his first career race there last year. Also building a reputation. Of course, being one of Townsend's favorites usually means you're probably a dick anyway. But multiple people now complaining about his driving standard. Probably overcompensating for the fact that he drives for one of the worst teams in the grid, but they have a big budget in terms of commercials and stuff, so there's that. We'll see how it goes. I'll get into the points. Kirkwood 91 back of Palou, Lundgaard's 110 back, Malukas 142. I think 159 is the absolute max. So Newgarden's eliminated. Pato Ward essentially eliminated. Malukas also. Those two guys will probably be knocked out after the first race unless they go out there and do something miraculous. Lundgaard has been so bad on ovals, he'll probably self-eliminate himself or self-eliminate. After this weekend, but contenders still to finish top 5 in points. The battle from 7th through 9th is only 7 points. 12 points between Malukas and O'Ward. 19 between Kirkwood and Lundgaard. So there are good battles behind Palou. McLaughlin there, and then Will Power's last couple of weeks has gotten himself up to 10th. Has a 26-point lead on Renus VK, who then has 12 on Dixon. Dixon's only 8 points ahead of Kiffin Simpson, who has one more top 5 and one more top 10. I mentioned it last week. I said it last week. I never picked that on the bingo card. There's those are two things that I never thought that Dixon would leave Ganassi, not only that and go to McLaren, but then also that he'd be getting theoretically outperformed by Kiffin Simpson. But we are here. Leader circle battle, Rasmussen and Kyle Collette, the 21 and the 4 tied for that last spot. Mick Schumacher and the 47's 10 points back. Stingray Robb is 25 back. So for the drivers and the teams that are trying to get that leader circle money, it's still a decent battle there. There's outside risk for like Hauger and Louis Foster, depending how things go. So see how that all ends up. Yeah, I mean, let's get into it. We talked about the FallBrawl League, and Josh, or you can, I mean, I guess I could talk about my team. I'll go first. So yeah, I renamed my team because of Jed York's transgressions. I mean, what are you, when you're a freaking multi-millionaire, billionaire, and you're trying to get hookers in a freaking trailer park, next level there. So quite interesting. Trailer Park Temptations, drafted number 5 overall. It wasn't the usual draft that we've had in recent years. We have a new player in Edward in the league. Luke had to gracefully exit. Otherwise, Joe's defending champion. Wilson was back in the back having his usual technical aspects like I seem to be having here these last 2 weeks on the show. In terms of my draft, I drafted Lamar at the first round, then I picked CeeDee Lamb in second round, Chase Brown, Chris Olave, Jadarian Price, DeAndre Swift, then Jared Goff, DJ Moore. Probably a mistake on my part. Hopefully it isn't, but Jordan Mason there in the 9th round may have not been the best call. Foye Oluokun there to start my IDPs. Got Brian Burns. I think the Alec Pierce pick was also kind of a in between, but it worked out for me. Baker Mayfield, Xavier Watts, the safety from Atlanta, Rashad White, who's now in Washington, and then Matthew Golden for Green Bay. Graded a C in terms of who got Island. So Steve and Vic got the best grades, then Joe, and then Josh got the next best. They both got in the B range. And then myself and Matt got C grades, and then everybody behind that were not so good. Manny, I think, rage quit during the draft because he couldn't figure out the interface. Though he is in the league because he's making moves. Edward also is making a couple moves. So is Jeff. Wilson and I were talking earlier in that. With only one player on bye, they may just want to keep the season interesting. 16 rounds to play with. It's wonder how they ended up with 6th toughest schedule. Talk about a challenging new draft. Yeah, well, whatever. Fuck this guy and fuck the AI. We'll see what happens. Of course, quarterback wise, having Lamar, but also having Goff, who's been a solid performer for many years. Not a rushing performer, of course. Baker, trying to take him on a bounce back year, seeing what happened with that. I think of putting a lot of effort and energy on Jadarian Price coming through as a rookie behind that offensive line with that offense. I think what I'm kind of banking on there with the running backs. Chase Brown, Cincinnati's offensive line is not great, but they need him. The wide receiver core, I think, with Lamb and Olave is solid as my top 2 guys. And then DJ Moore with Buffalo, they need to have playmakers there. Taking a swing at Matthew Golden is, at least early on, is a good idea. I picked up Mike Washington for Las Vegas on the on the fact that if Ashton Genty has a more serious or longer term injury, they were putting it out there on socials like it was a serious injury. Now they've come out and said it might be an ankle, like a high ankle sprain, which is still serious because that's a lot of weeks, but they're also playing it down. So I don't know which way to think about that, but I'm hedging because Alec Pierce is not, he's currently on the PUP, so utilizing that opportunity to get that extra spot, and we'll see how that goes, though. But that's me. Josh, we're playing each other week 1, actually. What did you think about your draft?
Yeah, no, I mean, my draft I thought was solid. It was pretty good, honestly, but with the B pick there. Let me pull up my roster here. First round, Jonathan Taylor. I mean, I was into picking Jonathan Taylor. I feel like every other year it's either Jonathan Taylor or Derrick Henry, and this year, I picked up Jonathan Taylor first round. I wasn't sure about QB there. I mean, I'd rather have somebody like Lamar or Josh Allen, but Jalen Hurts, I mean, you can't go wrong with him, especially, with the tush push, as long as that continues to be a thing. So, rushing touchdowns guaranteed there. Kenneth Walker should be solid. Kind of feel iffy a little bit on my wide receivers. Definitely kind of missed out on the, top 10 wide receiver, top tier wide receivers there. Although I think Ted McMillan over in Carolina should be good. T. Higgins is always a solid receiver as long as he stays healthy. Picked up Parker Washington. Should be the wide receiver one in Jacksonville. There between him or Brian Thomas Jr. Picking up Bajal Tootin from Jacksonville, so going a little homer, I guess, but I'm all for it. And then Chuba Hubbard, Jordan Love. Picked them up. Defense picked up Nakobe Dean. Nick Cross had him last year. He was good on the Colts. And then Andrew Van Ginkel as linebacker, defensive end from Minnesota. Picked up DK Metcalf, RJ Harvey, Josh Downs, Romeo Doubs. So I mean overall should be solid. We face each other 3 times this year. I don't know if we've ever done that before in this league. So or in our league here. So we'll see. I'm really excited for this year. Hopefully it's ends up being really good for me. I mean, last year started out really bad and then managed to rally the last week of the season to make the playoff and then barely lose out on the first round. So definitely exciting for sure here. For that. And it was funny during the draft, with Manny losing it. I mean, now that you're saying he's making moves here, I wondered if he's just trying to replace his whole team there, because it looks like he got auto drafted, honestly, on there. But I will say the interface though was horrible for Yahoo.
Yeah.
I don't know what they did for it or why they made all these changes, but I mean, for other interfaces, like Sleeper had a really good interface. You actually had the draft board up as you were seeing, the whole draft. So at least you got that. So other than this, everything was all on a different tab and everything. And it's well, why am I doing this on a computer? If this is almost like they optimized it for mobile or whatever, and then didn't care about people who want to go on the computer and draft. Because I've got my triple monitors up, and then it's only one of the screens can I even really look at this from. I have to make a new window or whatever. But definitely wasn't optimized for PC users there. So that was my draft, of course. B grade, so solid, I guess, for however Yahoo likes to grade their drafts, and projects me with a top 4 record. So I'm good with that. We'll continue to go throughout the rest of the season, just see how things play out there. Definitely usual strategy of just putting out the best players that I have on the field using the waiver wire. Definitely try to make some trades here, and I guess now that I'm using ChatGPT a lot now, and this does have, I think they do have AI assist here, but I might have to go to ChatGPT now and start asking for trade advice here. We'll see. And you mentioned trading for draft picks. I remember that was the thing last year. I really did consider that last year, making trades, trading some draft picks and stuff, and that would have been funny. I want to see that sometime. Maybe next year we'll have the balls to trade their draft picks just for the heck of it. Maybe late round, so we're not risking anything, just for fun. But maybe I'll throw that in as a trade item this year. Get my 12th round pick in exchange for some player like your cornerback or somebody or whatever. So we'll see how that goes. My other league, I'll talk about that since I always do talk about that. Joe Burrow, Bijan Robinson, Kyren Williams, Malik Neighbors, T. Higgins, Tucker Kraft. Picked up J.K. Dobbins, kicker, Jason Myers, Patriots defense there, Rashad White, Mekhi Lemon, Jacoby Myers, Parker Washington, AJ Barner. They're tight end from Seattle. So I feel like that's a solid roster too. I mean, I have a lot of the same players, honestly. I have T. Higgins and Parker Washington, I think, on both sides. And I guess those are only same players, but I mean, this one was pretty similar, played out similar to, because I did a mock draft for this league beforehand in person, and I mean, I think I got Joe Burrow as my QB and Kyrene Williams on there, Malik Neighbors on there, I think I did pick up Parker Washington in there, so I'm really hot on Parker Washington this year. Seeing what he's been able to do the last couple years in Jacksonville, I think he's gonna have huge season here. So we'll see. I think the only thing that maybe you can criticize me is I did not pick a backup quarterback in this league, and I have Joe Burrow as my quarterback, who of course is injury prone or has been injury prone in the past. So we'll see how that plays out. I'm personally not worried. I kind of just take it by the bye week, but maybe I'll have to make an adjustment here before the season starts to see what I can do. But it's definitely gonna be a fun year for sure. I guess new team member here in our league, of course. So get a welcome to him, I guess. But excited for fantasy and excited for another year of football, of course, and hopefully I'll be on the other side of the camera here in January holding up. I mean, you got my address, I think, so you can send me it if I win, and I'll post it on camera here on my end. So for the championship belt. So definitely would be fun to get that. So real excited for that. But solid draft, I think, overall, both leagues. So looking forward to it.
We will see. I'm looking for another league. I'm in the sleeper dynasty that's in its last year of this iteration. I think we're going to just go through a full reset for 2027. So this is the last year of this particular dynasty. So it's interesting. I think with a full reset, I might have more of a investment next year in it. But of course, Vic and I have that team. We're in the same league with Joe and also Wilson in that. So, and then some of Joe's friends, I believe. So I'm participating in that deal. Try to get one more league on Yahoo after I got unceremoniously dumped by the douchebags in that other league. So unique scoring in here means that Josh and I will be playing each other more often this year. My schedule's more balanced. It seems like some of the other ones some of these teams are facing each other a lot more. So interested to see how that all lands. But added some new tweaks to this. Of course, got a couple more weeks, so I could just as easily adjust it. We'll see. Maybe I'll throw it out there in terms of what the crew wants to do here come in a couple of weeks' time, because it is a couple of weeks from now. We're not even, the training camp's going to be over soon. The last preseason game's about to happen. The electrical substation, I think, has done something. Anytime, yeah, there you go. That's a good one. While the damn thing crashed on me, you're able to get an electrical substation reference. I think the electrical substation, it's either anytime I start talking about or making veiled references about Orangeade, or something happens with my computer. So, whatever. I don't know. There's something crazy about that, but whatever. We will move on to the roundup here. We'll try to keep her snappy. Move through that. Got through that. Oh, yeah. Can't pass over. All right, sorry. So can't pass over the fact that Jed York got arrested for solicitation of prostitution in Ohio. He is from Ohio originally. I was making the joke that he's trying to be like his uncle, Eddie DeBartolo, the legendary Hall of Fame owner of the 49ers who won 5 Super Bowls, who got nailed for a felony didn't serve jail time. Found that out through Mike Florio earlier. I thought that Eddie D did serve jail time. That was part of the reason why they had to give up the team. But because he had the felony charge, and it was so, I guess in the public eye, he ended up having to renounce his ownership to his sister and John York, Denise DeBartolo York, and John York, of course, the parents of Jed. Jed has been basically in control of the organization in some way, shape, or form for almost 20 years now, through some of our worst times prior to, once we got Harbaugh, and then they got rid of him because he won that, and allowed Balky to take a team right into the trash. And then we have the current regime that we have right now, but, recently got divorced, was soliciting for, a provider for $140, which is crazy to me. I have comments. I have more commentary that I could really make if I really wanted to go on a riff and a rant. I have other people that are close to me that could also provide some color to this, but I'll digress on that in terms of looking for providers, going to trailer parks for providers, talking on your own cell phone and not on a secondary cell phone. A lot there. The electrical substation theory, now based on Josh, has traveled over to Northeast Ohio, where the fucking Yorks are from. Oh, Jesus. Fucking substation. But that'll be the substation's gonna travel to frickin' Melbourne, Australia, or wherever the hell they're playing that game. First game against the Rams too. Sexual deviant Deshaun Watson went and played terrible in his preseason game. I think yesterday proceeded to play victim, blame the fans, blame everybody else for the fact that he sucks at life, and then was named starter on Monday, the next day, and then had to come out and basically do some sort of mea culpa with the fans, even though we know that he's going to be one and done, and Cleveland is going to finally write off their losses and start over again at quarterback for like the 95th time since they've come back as a franchise. Those are a couple other couple other news items. Keyshawn Boutte getting traded after Jaden Higgins gets injured for the year. Atlanta has issues at quarterback for sure. Have to go to look at the top 100 at some point, but maybe next week once it's all out there. But yeah, we'll get into it more. GSP Roundup, let's get into it. IMSA was at Virginia International Raceway, very competitive race. Saw the FAF Racing Lamborghini team of Andrea Caldereri and the Sandy Mitchell back-to-back wins for them after winning at Road America. Portus Travis broke through, win Road America. Calder Pole Award was even more convincing. Win by 1.5 seconds over Ben Barker, Dennis Olsen in the 64 Ford. And then the third place was also the other Mustang there in GT Pro. The top 5 were GT Pro cars. Sixth was the winner in the GTD category, the Russell Ward Philip Ellis Windward Racing Mercedes. Patrick Gallagher, Robbie Foley for Turner Motorsport, BMW, 9th overall, second in class, and then Brendan Uribe, Frederick Shandorf, the Inception Racing Ferrari, the third place in GTD. Dudu Barrichello and Tom Gamble tried to battle with an alternate strategy to hold up there and try and get that first win of the season. Weren't able to, but they still lead the points there with 2 races to go in the season. Robbie Wickens, and Mason Filippi were 17th in the DXDT Corvette. Sexy Sheena Monk, definitely not having a great time of it this year. Finished next to last. Alexander Sims had a huge off early in the race and wrecked their Corvette, so loss of points there. The points standings for GTD Pro, see Connor D. Filippi and Neil Verhagen and the Paul Miller BMW up by 15 points on Nicky Katzberg, Tommy Milner, and the Pratt Miller Corvette, and then 21 points out of Harry King, Nick Tandy in the AO Racing Porsche. And that's really the battle there. The Mies Versovich Ford is 99 points back. Then in GTD, Duda Barrichello is 24 points out of Ellis and Ward, and then 26 ahead of Foley and Gallagher, and then 28 and 45 ahead of Benjamin Peterson, Aaron Telitz. So that there's still 4 teams that are in the running for that championship. Next race will be Indianapolis, which will have all 4 classes there, and then Petit Le Mans end the year. Supercars, Ipswich Super 440 goes out there. The results and standings: Brock Feeney goes out to win the Sprint Cup after a great weekend. Issues for Matt Payne in the Sunday race knock him out of the points lead there. Let's get into the results there. So the winners last were Brody Kostecki in race 1, Will Brown in race 2, and then Brock Feeney in race 3. Kostecki leads the series with 7 wins. Brock Feeney is second with 6th. Matt Payne is third with 5. Will Brown getting his first win of the year. I mentioned the point standings in the Sprint Cup standings. Kostecki their third, and then Cam Waters 4th, Kai Allen 5th, Anton DePasquale, Will Brown, Chaz Mostert, Ryan Wood, and then James Golding rounding out your top 10. Doing endurance testing here, getting ready to go into the 2 enduros with the calendar, which will be the Air Touch 500 at the Bend, and then the Bathurst 1000 before the finals series, which will be the Gold Coast 500, the Sandown 500, and the Adelaide Grand Final. NHRA was at Brainerd. They'll then go to Indianapolis here in a couple of weeks. Doug Coletta had a great weekend, another victory for him in Top Fuel. Matt Hagan goes and wins, and in Funny Car and takes over the points lead. And then Greg Anderson, the Minnesota native, wins 2 in a row there. Almost had a chance to have a battle between father and son. It was Hagan had to beat Jordan Vandergriff in the final in Funny Car, and in Top Fuel, it started 5th and 7-point lead on Vandergriff, fell close behind. There's only 74 points separating the top 5 with points and a half at the U.S. Nationals. Coletta goes and beats Maddie Gordon in the final. Pick up her, but Coletta fourth and 63rd of his career. Try to win a regular season title in Indian 11 and press a 67-point lead. So for Maddie Gordon, her arc of trying to be the new face of the NHRA, being the spark plug, is going well for them. Right now, 4 drivers have locked in the Top Fuel standings. I figure Maddie Gordon, Tony Stewart, Josh Hart, I would say even Billy Torrance are pretty good. After qualifying, I would think. And then Justin Ashley, Clay Milliken, probably. It would take a miracle for Tony Schumacher, Sean Reed to make it in. In Funny Car, 5 drivers is locked in. It's talking about 74 points separating them. Proc, Green, DeJoria be fine. Wilkerson and Hyde, they're pretty much solid. There's really no way anything's going to happen there. Only 3 drivers have locked in so far: Greg Stanfield, Glenn, and Anderson. But, I think everybody's pretty closely packed. Hartford will get in there. There is a battle between Cody Anderson and Eric Latino, points-wise, 26 and 37 points. So there could be a change there. In Pro Stock Motorcycle, 4 riders are already in. Clayton Howie only 1 point at a Steve Johnson, so there actually is, and you could go all the way. It's 35 points separating 7th all the way to 11th. So there could be a change for sure. Any of those positions could change in qualifying, and then even in the race, depending on how race day goes. So see how that goes at Indianapolis. F1 Academy was at Zandvoort. Alicia Palmoski continues her great season with her winning at Zandvoort, getting the pole and then getting the feature race win. Peyton Westcott won the reverse grid race, so credit to Peyton Westcott there in the reverse grid over Alba Larson, Nina Godeman, Kosterman, Ella Lloyd, Rachel Robertson, Bruce, Ava Dobson, Kayla Countryman. So 3 Americans in the top 9. Palmoski, a rare off race, was 12th. And then in the feature race, it was Palmoski over Albert Larson, Nina Godeman, Granada, Feldmeyer. Westcott was 9th. So, and then others there. The points heading into Austin in a couple of months' time. Palmoski is 48 points at Emma Feldmeyer. Feldmeyer is 17 points out of Godeman. Alba Larson's a point out of Peyton Westcott and Bruce. 3 ahead of Ella Lloyd. So that's the best battle really is right there between those 4 ladies. Got Countryman, 14th, Ava Dobson, 15th in points. Jade Jaquette has not scored and has been in every race this year. Wild card that got 22 points at Silverstone. So that's interesting there. There'll be a triple header race at Coda, an option race or whatever, or opening race, and then a reverse grid, and then a feature at Austin coming up. So 5 more total rounds to go. 2 race meetings left for the ladies. And, for most of these other wild card lady, and then some of these drivers here to be in the series a whole year and not really do anything, it's pretty mediocre, but is what it is. So Rally Paraguay coming up this weekend. Points currently see Efren Evans leading the world championship by 30 over Sami Payari, and then Takamoto Katsuda is 51 back, Solberg 55 back, and then Ogier a little much further would need to, after his retirement from Finland, Rally Finland, would have to go on an epic run to make anything happen there. Then in MotoGP, Moto2, there'll be an Aragon. Go Moto2, of course. Standings for that in Moto2. Gonzalez is 42.5 points ahead of Guevara, Senegas, Ortola, Holgado, David Alonso. A few of those riders are moving up next season. Leap Salek and Alonso Lopez. You got Joe Roberts currently in 14th place. 18 points, or was it 19.5 points out of the top 10. In MotoGP, a little more intrigue, 31 points separating Jorge Martinez's teammate Marco Bezzecchi, 37 points Stai Agura, so 3 Aprilias up there, 41 points separating the top 5 Marquez, Di Gianantonio. Raul Fernandez is at 56 points back after 3 consecutive podiums there. So that's the battle going to Aragon. And then, Indy next. 3 more races left. They'll race at Milwaukee Mile this weekend, and then they'll race a doubleheader at Monterey at Laguna Seca. And then the current points see Enzo Fittipaldi up by 1 point over Nikita Johnson. Tymek Kusharik currently in third. Max Taylor in fourth. And Lockie Hughes in fifth. Alessandro De Tullio in sixth. Miles Rowe seventh. Josh Pearson, who sounds like is going to be taking the seat of Kyle Collette in IndyCar, currently 11th in points. I'm not sure who's in play for any of the rides that are open, so something to look at, especially with how close the battle is amongst those top 3. And then in Rookie of the Year battle, Enzo Fittipaldi, it's the top 3 are all rookies, so interesting how that is. De Tullio, who has the most poles on a year, 6th in points. So something to look at. Of course, Miles Rowe, great oval racer, trying to salvage his season with a good run to get a second win on the year after the Milwaukee Mile. All right, so we'll go to IndyCar here. Go to the picks. I picked first, so Josh, you get the first pick here on Milwaukee. Who do you pick as your winners for the doubleheader at Milwaukee?
I think first pick, I guess the first race one, I'm gonna go with Alex Palou, race 1. And wild card, race 1. Does Christian Rasmussen, I mean, he won this race last year, or won one of them. Does he still count as a wild card for this? Because he's still pretty
He's in this bottom half. Yeah, he's in the bottom half of the points.
Okay.
So theoretically, he is.
All right. I will go with that for a wild card there. And then I guess second race, wild card or winner, I'll go with Joseph Newgarden, and then put Romain Grosjean as a wild card for the second race.
Okay, we'll go with that. For me, race 1, I will go with Pato O'Ward to win, with the wild card being go over here. Points. My wild card for that race will be Kyle Collette. All right, so Collette. Then in race 2, I'm going to go with David Malukas getting his first win, with the wild card in that one being because it's 25, so it's 13. It's not. Yeah, that's not a wild card. I'll just say Marcus Armstrong on that one, with wild card Armstrong. All right. Then next is the O'Reilly series. I guess in this case, because you have the algorithm, you can go pick first. So for these, so O'Reilly series at Daytona. We also have to pick who makes it and who doesn't in the chase. So
yeah, I guess for me, I'll just go with Jesse Love winning this weekend in O'Reilly series wild card. I'm gonna go with let's see here really quick. This is tough. Yeah, I'll go with Harrison Burton as a wild card past Daytona winner.
Harrison Burton wild card. Okay,
and then
I'll pick. My picks here for the win will be, Andy J's actually driving the 39 for RSS. Interesting. Ryan Sieg's driving the 38. That's an interesting one. It's actually kind of intriguing to go and pick Andy J, but he's not an O'Reilly Series driver on the regular. I'll go with Corey Day to win. He did win at Talladega. And then my wild card pick, there would be, I wanted to pick Andy J, but I'm going to pick Nick Sanchez. And then the TFA pick.
It selects Fast Pasta.
All right, Anthony Alfredo. So that's good. That'll be an interesting. It'll be a big one for Viking Motorsports for sure. If that were to come off Daytona. Oh yeah, and then in terms of that's the other aspect of it that we have to look at is the points battle. Currently, Sam Mayer 19 up. I mean, right now Retzloff plus 46. Then you have Mayer plus 19, Zilisch and Cruz plus 1, Taylor Gray minus 1, Rajah Caruth minus 15. So I guess of those 6, which 4 make it in? I say that Junior Motorsports does everything in their power to go and get Rajah Caruth towards the front, maximize his points, especially in the stages. And he gets in. I think Retzloff gets in. I feel like Sam Mayer wrecks out of this race and gets knocked out with William Zilisch. Not in the same wreck, but I'm saying those two guys move out. Taylor Gray and Rajah Caruth move in. So I'll just put. And then Phil picks Caruth and Gray to move into chase while Mayer and Zilisch are eliminated. How about you, Josh?
Yeah, I'm gonna just say I think Rajah Caruth makes it in this weekend. And I think William Zilisch falls out. So I think it stays the same. Just insert Rajah Caruth in. So I think Taylor Gray and Zilisch are the ones that fail to qualify.
Okay, so I'm saying 2 drivers get in. You just say 1. We'll see how that goes. All right, so now it's Cup Series at Daytona. Josh, you give us your choices.
Let me hold on. Let me pull up the standings there for wild card. This is going to be unconventional, but I'm going to go with Kyle Larson winning at Daytona because he's gone close before at super speedways and hasn't quite made it, and he hasn't won yet this year, so be totally upside down for him to win at Daytona. So that's pretty out there, but it's got to win at some point, so do that. And then I guess for wild card, AJ Allmendinger, he's good at speedway racing. So actually, wait, no, let me change that. I'm gonna go with Michael McDowell. It's won the Daytona 500. Always is up front at super speedways there at the end. I remember 2 years ago he was up there fighting for the win and got spun out almost upside down in the Cup race there. So I'll go with them for my wild card.
All right. So McDowell's is a good one if he can keep his car clean. 18. Yeah. Damn. That would actually been cool if I could have made that pick. But my pick to win this weekend will be I'll pick Clyde. Make everybody happy at the track, or at least a lot of people happy at the track. He was close in February. And then my wild card pick will be I'll say that Jones boy from Byron, Michigan. He has won this race before when he was driving for Gibbs. So, and they've shown pace on super speedways at times. So, what is the TFA pick?
The TFA picks Alex Bowman to win here at Daytona this weekend, which is funny because of all the times Alex Bowman's won the pole for the Daytona 500, he's not won at all at Daytona in any series, or at least in the Cup Series. So, yeah, and this could be his final career win if he does win. So, we'll see.
And it's very Hendrick heavy going on.
With Raja, too.
Raja, I pick Corey Day. Oh, this is something. All right, so I mean, this is pretty much straightforward. I think. I mean, I guess, are we going up and down? Are we both down that Brian Preece isn't going to make it? The chase is what it is.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, so both agree that Preece won't make it, or any other Hail Mary attempts behind. All right. Yeah, so with that, Josh, it's time for the sim segment. Let us know what's going on in iRacing Gaming.
Yeah, this week iRacing, of course, Daytona week for Cup Series and O'Reilly Series, so definitely going to be a lot of madness going forward here this week. So risk your safety or tank your safety rating at your own risk here this week for iRacing. So yeah, definitely going to be wild course here this weekend, or this week at Daytona for those iRacing series. Let's see what else on the board here. Let's see, looking at the schedule here, profile, trying to look at it. What's on the oval schedule? I guess IndyCar this week. I think week 10. I guess they haven't switched the schedule over yet, but yeah, Milwaukee Mile fixed oval series this week for IndyCar on there. So yeah, similar. And yeah, Indy NXT Oval Series also at Milwaukee Mile this weekend. 87 series at Kentucky this week. ARCA USA International Speedway Dirt Race track this week. Yeah, in iRacing. NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series this week will be racing at Darlington this week. So got that. Road racing wise, sports cars and Formula cars this week. GR86 at Canadian Tire Motorsports Park. Or Road America, that's where it's at. Schedule hasn't updated yet. I don't know why. Sports Car Challenge this week by Falcon Tire at Autodromo and Zodino Ferrari there. Formula Fords at Winton Motor Speedway this week. Let's see, GT3 Regional America Tour, Watkins Glen Boot Circuit this week. GT Sprint Series this week at Red Bull Ring Indy NXT Road Series. Wow, road course, Daytona International Road Course for the Indy NXT Series. That might be fun. The IndyCar Series, the Oval. Well, this is the IndyCar Open Setup Series in Milwaukee Mile there as well for the longer distance version. GT4 Challenge also at Imola there. iRacing IMSA Series this week, Road Atlanta 45-minute event there. So got that. I guess some big news for iRacing this week. News this week happening in iRacing this week. Special events. iRacing Crandon Pro Ford Challenge. Crandon Championship for off-road racing. iRacing NASCAR iRacing Series Daytona, of course. IndyCar iRacing at Milwaukee Mile. Yeah, that's basically everything that I've seen here. I think also in regular iRacing news, the new, I think I said last week, but they announced that the new iRacing arcade game's coming out, so that, download that on PlayStation, Xbox, and PC, so on there. And then I think iRacing, Creators Series at New Hampshire, I think, or that was last week. So I'm trying to see what else is here in terms of the news. Might be a little bit light this week there. Yeah, iRacing Arcade on PS5, Xbox, PC. Steam as of August 21 there. So, yeah, that's all. I think that's all I got for iRacing this week. Of course, probably try to in the end of the week or Sunday at least. Definitely be out of the house. Saturday, at Daytona. Friday night probably be preparing and everything, getting everything together for Saturday. So I don't know how much iRacing I'll do on Friday, if anything. So probably might do some on Sunday when trying to recover from the race and everything like that. Not really, but I'll probably do some there. But yeah, probably do some iRacing at Daytona and whatnot. So we'll see how that goes. And always you can stream on Twitch TV Slayer 2. Go on there, watch all the streams on there. Did some IndyCar racing this week. Fixed oval series at Indianapolis, and that was, I don't know, iRacing needs to fix the setup on the fixed oval series for IndyCar, because you can't even pass anymore. It's almost like impossible. Like, you really have to time everything. You have to have very perfect timing to be able to pass. It's not as I guess there's got to be a balance between it being too drafty like it is in real IndyCar, versus where it's so easy, it's strung out and you're, where you get within 4 or 5 tenths and you just can't break through no matter what there. So yeah, it's kind of annoying, and you can run top 5 or whatever, wreck like I did, got wrecked by somebody on Thursday night, I think. So yeah, that's I don't know, hopefully Iris can actually figure out the setup. Because definitely, and it was the same thing in the fixed Indy 500 too. Just, couldn't pass at all. So it was one of definitely not as fun right now on the fixed oval side, because it's been fun before to be able to do it. I've proven that and everything, but it seems like as of late they haven't. I don't know what it is, but open setup at least. You can run well still at Indy, but I don't know what it is with the fixed oval setup at Indy on the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. So we'll see. We'll see if iRacing fixes that in the next schedule whenever they do fixed oval at Indianapolis. So we'll see. But yeah, got that. Of course, Twitter, JP Huffine, of course. Yeah, definitely need tweeting a lot of Jaguar stuff. Seeing tweets that now that Deshaun Watson has been named the starter for Jacksonville, or for Cleveland facing Jacksonville week 1. He's 7-1 versus Jacksonville. So I'm sure that, given all this news about Deshaun Watson and all the stuff that he's done, I'm sure Liam Cohen will be very motivated to get the Jaguars motivated to secure a week 1 victory against the Browns there, against Deshaun Watson there, of course. And of course, tweeting and retweeting about electrical substations and certain billionaire owners for the San Francisco 49ers there. So definitely a certain figure of history. But yeah, it's definitely going to get interesting here with football, of course. Follow Josh Huff on photography, of course. This weekend be at Daytona, of course, so be taking more pictures there. Somebody reached out to me this week, or today actually, is asking questions about photography this weekend at Daytona, of course. Link up with Joe, and sure Joe will have his camera out there as well, so probably do some collab out there with him as well. So and then the Gripshire Podcast YouTube page, you can go there and follow me on there or follow us on there, and follow our page, and watch our streams and video on there. So glad to be on the draft again this year. Good luck to you this year in fantasy football, but hopefully I take it all home this year. So that's how I view things. So, but it's all for fun. So hopefully we have a good year in fantasy, but of course, good year in the NFL, and rest of the racing season continues to go well.
Yeah, it's all in good fun, and we got friends, but good competition, keeping it above board, instead of below the waist like Jed York tried to do, doing about providers and trying to do that sort of thing. Dude could have called me. Could have done better. But anyway, you can find me at PGMGSP28 Instagram, Blue Sky, and Matthew 28 on Twitter. But of course, the Gripster podcast is, as Josh mentioned, on YouTube. Our YouTube page, please like, comment, and subscribe on there. GSP 1428, the audio feed appears there, along with PhilipGMatthew.com on WordPress. Podbean.com is our host site. We also appear on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Amazon Music /Audible, iHeartRadio, Player FM, Listen Notes, and Podchaser. So yeah, we will be back for episode 330 of the Ripster podcast next week, recapping everything that went on at Daytona, what's going on in IndyCar. If we have five-time champion Alex Palou, which is more than likely, silly season updates since they'll be going to Laguna Seca. We'll talk about week 3 of the NFL, who made the chase in NASCAR Cup and O'Reilly, and everything else going on in the world of racing, leading into the pre-Labor Day week there, because Darlington will be before Labor Day, actually. Rare instance of that, but the way the calendar lies this year, but we'll see how that all. Or no, it is late. No, wait, it is. We're on the 20th. Yeah, so we'll go to Darlington next week. After that, then you'll have Laguna Seca for the finale, and then the Italian Grand Prix. We'll preview that. F2, F3 will be back as well. And Monza, and everything else going on in the world of racing, we'll talk about on the Gripster podcast. So for Josh, I'm Phil. Thanks for listening. Thanks for going subscribe, let your friends know about us, and we'll see you next time.